The first student I counseled, Abhinav Anand, MBA, he had a question for me every hour on LinkedIn. He eventually came to Brunei and he sent me a very nice handwritten note the day he arrived. I wasn't at Brunei then. Sent me a handwritten note all the way to India to say, there is no one ever I have seen who's as patient as you. You answered all my questions. And I still have that ethos. Because if you don't have we can make or break someone's life by the advice that we give them. So it's kudos to whether people like yourself or Sanam or through Nisao, and even when I said validation is what these kids want. In their heart they know what they want to do. They're just looking at someone more experienced, senior, knowledgeable like you guys to tell them this is okay, this is good for you, do this, you'll be fine.
Great. So, I'm Saurabh, founder and CEO of University Living. I'm your host and host of Living with Saurabh, Living Pod with Saurabh. So today I have very interesting two guests. Someone who've been supporting us from our early days. Someone I really look upon. Not probably because of we share the same names or same we have same likings of food and probably many other things. But I believe the sheer the achievement or things they have achieved over a period of time, the respect is beyond, right? So rather than me introducing them, let me ask Shivani and Sanam to introduce themselves. Shivani, over to you.
Hi guys, I'm Shivani. I head international student recruitment at Brunel University of London. And yeah, I've known Saurabh probably since COVID days, if not before, when I guess University Living was a relatively smaller startup.
Business small.
Say small. And I think I've really seen his journey turn multiple folds in the last couple of years. So it's a pleasure to be here, Saurabh. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I guess this podcast is good. Otherwise, we were not meeting. So, a funny story. Whenever I am in UK, she's in India. When I am in India, she's in London. So, I guess it's been almost 1.5 years. We are meeting like a friend and chit-chatting. So, thank you for coming all over. And I know they are coming from Delhi and it's a Dhanteras and a Diwali festival week. So, they took 2.5 hours. So, sorry about that. Right, but it was due. So, Sanam Arora, right? I guess most of us knows you. Why don't you tell about yourself, which people don't know about you?
Well, that's a hard one, Saurabh. Well, hi everyone, Sanam Arora. For those of you who don't know me, and I'm sure there's many, I represent an organization called the National Indian Students and Alumni Union UK, or NISAO as we're called. And I'm also one of the commissioners of the UK's International Higher Education Commission. These are things I do sort of in our spare time, like many of the team are volunteers. So we have got cancer researchers on the team, we have dentists, doctors, all sort of working together really with one aim, which is to champion you and students and student welfare and make sure that we can get the best deal possible for Indian students in the UK. So that's what we do at NISAO. Through the commission, we work for the benefit of all international students and coming up with sort of a strategy, recommendations for a strategy for the UK's international higher education corridor. And other than sharing my surname with Saurabh, we also share this passion and ethos for student welfare and really genuinely putting student first, because there's so many, I think literally everyone will say student first, but I think there's very few organizations and individuals that genuinely mean that. So sort of commend you on that ethos of genuinely trying to put the students' interests first. And yeah, lovely to be here. And it's nowhere better to be on Dhanteras than here in Noida.
They got me gold. Lots of gold. So, as you mentioned, student first. I believe it should not be other way around at all. If students are not happy, none of us will be doing what we want to do, passionate about, because we were being students, right, Shivani?
Yeah.
You went to UK as a student.
Yeah.
Sanam, you went to UK probably as a teenager, right? I guess I'm the least studied among three of us. I went for an exchange only for 3 months. It extend to 6 months, and even the 6 months have widened my horizon, wherein I believe now we are global citizens. The kind of experience, exposure, the platform we got, it's beyond our imagination, right? So, Shivani, would love to know your journey, and be as detailed as you can. Why you went to UK, why Brunel, how did you go,
It's always interesting to have this conversation because it takes you back in time. And I think when you're in the daily world of work and life, you sometimes forget. And I think this is a good moment to stop. And I think most importantly, be grateful for everything that we've got, given that there have been so many challenges in the last, I suppose, 2 decades, COVID being such a big one. And, we all survived that. So my journey, right. I am born and brought up in Delhi. South Delhi. And I went to schooling into Delhi Public School, Mathura Road, after which I decided to do a bachelor's in business. Lots of options in and around Delhi, but I think I chose Amity at that point in time, your neighbor from here. And the only reason was I wanted to go to an institution which will be slightly more challenging than going to, let's suppose, a state college, which will. So Amity was 3 years. Where I think I found best of my friends. I met my life partner, not there, but of course we went to college together. And I think when I was in Amity, you would look at your super seniors, sort of saying, right, we're going to go study overseas. And I remember there was a brief period when my dad had to move to Romania for work purposes for 2 years, but me and my mom stayed back here because of college and things like that. And I refer back to a conversation I had with my dad when I was finishing class 10, that I want to go for my undergraduate overseas. And my mom put her foot down saying, you're a single child, we're already very spoiled here, if we send you, you'll just be out of hand. And it was quite a heated discussion at home. Obviously the mother won, like she should.
They were sponsoring.
Obviously.
They were sponsoring.
But I remember when my dad was going to Romania, and still being fairly young, right? I was in finishing first year college. I asked him to promise me that he's only allowed to go if I am allowed to go for my master's after 3 years. Otherwise, how can he leave, his precious little daughter and his wife and go, miles apart in a world completely unknown to all of us?
That's bhallas for you,
That's bhallas,
negotiate,
yes.
right?
We always.
In fact, I'm so happy that you are, heading Brunel and not part of entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Because I know you have a great negotiation power, So and
that could have given you tough competition.
Yeah. I always try that. All the people who are better than me, I take them along with me. Competing with them.
I'll take that as a compliment. So I think the seed sort of went then, and I think my dad sort of said, yes, I'll fight it out with your mom, and principally that's a yes. And I think so when I entered year 2, it just started, kind of building into me that, what should I study? And of course, because my dad was in Romania, we took a big Europe holiday for a month in the summer break, and we went to London. Now, I don't know if all of you feel this, and this will sound very Bollywood and maybe very, very filmy, but you fall in love with London the first day you get there, maybe in the first couple of hours. And I think it just kind of hit that thing that it's 8-9 hours from Delhi. My mom felt a bit more confident that, okay, she's not too far away. God forbid anything had to go wrong. Maybe I was partying all night and something crazy happened. They can come rescue me. Or, you feel this accessible in so many ways with the Indian community that we have there. And we had a couple of family friends. So in the second year, at least the country was 80% clear in my mind. Fortunately, I belong to a family where decisions are independent. So as long as principally the father has to fund it, the mother has to agree to it, the decision of where, when, what, how was mine. Getting into year 3, we were a group of 6 very close friends, and out of that, 3 of us had an inclination to study abroad, and 3 wanted to do their family business back in India. And I think that's when we started researching for universities. Like everyone, there was a bunch of people from Amity. I think I remember about 20 of us going to a consultant in Delhi. And, it was quite an interesting experience. I'd never been to a consultant's office before, had no idea what is this. But went there and, I kind of just gave a very basic overview of what I wanted to study. You probably already would have guessed that of knowing me for the last couple of years. I'm very clear in what I want. So I wanted to study brand management. There was nothing moving me from that subject. And I bunched on, I obviously looked at a bunch of courses online, but what intrigued me was, I still remember a luxury brand management program at Westminster and the corporate brand management program at Brunel. But like any consultant, they made me apply to 6 universities. I was a very good, academically very bright student. So I got through all. I remember I got an offer from King's, Exeter, Westminster, Brunel, and I can't remember another 2 universities. So at that stage, I sort of was like, right, do I choose Westminster because it's luxury brand management? Do I choose Exeter because it's very high ranked, or King's College, or do I choose something which is completely different, no one's ever heard of it? Not many people knew about Brunel then.
So I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. This is exactly what is going through my mind. 9 on 10, or probably 8 on 10 will not choose Brunel, especially that point.
This is, I'm going back
now
2007.
Now the branding is different. The campus is beautiful, right? And there are so many of success stories like you. But back then, because it's also not central location. Right? It's and there's lots of not very fancy accommodation around. Right now the things are different. But then why?
So, and I think this is where the peer-to-peer element comes in, right? And I think we were talking about this a bit earlier, that validation is something as humans we constantly need for every decision we want to make. So this is 2007 when this homework started, and I remember, going back to college, and a couple of us were hanging out in the college canteen, and how it is, when you have your batchmate, someone's envious of you, there was a conversation, and this girl, never spoken to her in my entire 2.5 years at uni up till then. And she says, "So Shivani, what are your plans? You're in the top 3% of the, of the batch. What's your plans?" I was like, "I want to do a course in, brand management. I've got an offer from this university. I've never heard of it." And she said, "What's the name?" And I said, "It's called Brunel University of West London." And she said, "My cousin brother studies there." Within 10 seconds, she connected me to him on Facebook. There was no Instagram then, there was no BBM then, there was, I think the world was Orkut and Facebook. And I spoke to him, and all he said was, "It's a great student vibe." I just let it be at that. He was an undergrad, but different journey, and I just parked myself. Then I started reading a lot about the course, who teaches on the program, and if I be honest with you, in about 2 weeks, I was decided, this is where I want to go, this is what I want to study. And kid you not, the international fees then was £8,750. So
should I? What is now?
It's 27,000 now, right? So but 8750 at that time was decent amount of money, right? I'm going back to 2007. So I printed my offer letter, went back home, showed it to my mom. My dad was still in Romania, forwarded him the email, and I said, "You need to pay £1,000 ASAP." And that's it, So my father said, if this is what you want, and this is what you want to do, and we're very glad you've chosen London because we'll be a bit more at ease since it's an approachable city. Let's do it. And a day later or 2 days later, the fees was deposited. But I have an interesting story from an accommodation perspective, actually, Saurabh. So the big question in an Indian's parent mind was, where are you going to stay? Now, Brunel does have on-campus accommodation. It wasn't guaranteed back then. And, my husband Akhil, he was in the UK that time visiting his family. So my dad called him as a friend saying, can you go see Brunel? And can you just make sure everything's okay around that area, and what are the accommodation options? And actually he spent 3-4 hours looking at the campus. There was no video calling then. He clicked a few pictures, he emailed them to us. And he said, "Uncle, it's actually sounding pretty good and she'll be quite safe. Accommodation is right around the corner. You can walk to it from your classes." And my dad was like, if you have £1,000 on you, why don't you just pay the accommodation deposit for her as well? So at that time, it was £1,000 to get your CAS and £1,000 to get your accommodation confirmed. The worlds were completely different from what we live in today. I still remember, went back to the consultant, and they didn't have a contract with Brunel, but they still didn't make me change my mind. So for me, the good old days of genuine counseling and putting the student first existed, right? So all I did was went to get my visa file checked, and the only money they took from me was 600 rupees.
Rupees, not
600 rupees.
Not
600
pounds.
Rupees. Back in the day, your university forms had to be couriered.
I know
it was for the courier charges.
I know what concept you're talking about, but
I know, but I
and I agree. I call most of those OGs.
Yeah.
This industry have gone through, its own course of share, and we have more good actors. There are few
100%.
not so good actors, but that's part and parcel of every industry. The good thing is, there's still more good people than couple of probably shady ones, and it's working, right? They are success stories like you, right? So then back to your story.
So obviously the visa process back then was fairly simple. Cutting the story short, got to the UK. For me, I think the transition was alright. I mean, I didn't feel homesick or any of that. My parents came to
Is
drop
it because
me.
you are social?
I'm a social person. I can make
And you
friends
have
fairly
family
easily.
friends there?
I didn't meet my family friends even once in the whole year.
Okay.
That's another story. But my mom and dad came to drop me. So I think at that time that really helped. But I don't know, I don't share this very often, but I share it when I speak to our prospective students that are coming to Brunel. So I was staying in uni accommodation, mom came, set up the room, I'm not used to doing things myself. Who is, in India? And, first day I made my cup of coffee in the morning. I had 3 cups in total. Second day I made a cup of the second coffee. Third day I made a cup of the third coffee. Fourth day I wake up and I'm like, I don't have a clean cup. So I'm like, what is going on? And that's when I realized I have to wash this myself. No one is going to do it. So that was the first reality check of living away from home, having to do certain chores myself. And it may sound very pompous, it may sound very South Delhi, but it's the fact I had never picked up a glass in my house.
When you
and
mentioned
my
South
mom
Delhi,
laughed exactly like you
when
did.
you mentioned South Delhi,
Yeah.
and you've been in London for a while.
Yeah.
But good thing is you have still not picked that fake accent.
No.
So I'll give it that to you.
No. Very difficult. Very difficult to pick that up.
I have seen people who have gone for 6 months and they're like, bro.
I guess, but so that was the first, if I be honest with you, that was the first learning. And the day I was by myself in my accommodation on campus, I have to be honest, I did have some tears in my eyes. Because suddenly I was like, right, what next? Making friends, for me, people think is very easy. Back in the day, I was not shy, but I would choose who would I make friends with, So, and there I look into this bunch of Gujarati people, and I'm like, where is the clan who eats all the butter chicken and the chicken kadai? And this is the best story of my life. I made one of my best friends for life from Pakistan on that day, where, I just like, who knew where they are from? And they came and asked me a question. I asked them a question.
Where's the butter chicken?
And they said chicken kadai, and I still didn't know. And that's where the friendship started from. Until date, we're friends. So for me, it was quite a seamless, easy process to fit in. And obviously, I finished my masters. Brand management was brilliant. It was absolutely a fantastic experience. I worked part-time on campus as a calling ambassador. So it was quite an interesting job where we had to call up our alumni and raise funds. So that's where I realized I do have a knack for sales or negotiation, as you said. I was the one who raised the highest funds, but the first 3 days I raised 0, and it's a 14-day campaign. But something went up where I don't know. I managed to. I can't remember how much, but I think under 100K I must have raised then. So obviously that happened, and then there was a big question: should I stay back, or should I go back to India? In that year, you could get the post-study work visa. Sort of a family-influenced decision, but essentially mine. I was like, no, I want to go back. And the theme I had inside was, if I want to do something, I want to achieve it in my own country first. And then let me see what options I can explore. So a lot of people that time said, take the post-study work visa. And my narrative was, why should I waste a visa if I don't want it? Because I'm taking it away from someone, right? So came back, I worked for a brand consultancy, which is super big now, called Brands of Desire. I did a project with them for about a year on Vodafone. Then I worked for Times of India in their corporate marketing team. And then that role was going to get quite sales driven. So I was getting a bit bored. I was like, this is not really for me. It's too much sales. And I used to do a lot of active work for Brunel as an alumni. So replying back to queries on studentroom.com, which was quite a popular website. I used to reply to questions on our Orkut page, back then. And if I may share, I would get £100 per day when I would reply to a query.
Wow.
My salary back then in Times of India was 27,000 rupees. So can you imagine, for a young person, 23, 24-year-old, by answering a few questions, I was getting £100, and working that whole month, I was getting 27,000. So I really liked that, the balance. And the joke in my house was, my credit card bill every month was 25,000. So my dad said, technically, you can't afford that with your salary. So I really learned it in a unique way. And then obviously, Brunel was visiting often. I went to a networking session, and I think I met a couple of people from Brunel who then went back. And cutting the story short, the head of international, then came to India to attend fairs, and they invited me and another alum for a dinner at Hyatt, and we met there. And then she said, would you mind coming and helping me at this agents fair? And I said, okay, cool. She said, we'll pay you £100 again. I was like, fine, sounds good. I go to the fair, and we attend the fair, everything, but prior to that, she had a conversation with me where she said, would you like to be the in-country office? And back then you had the big operations was Warwick, and then you had Leeds, of course, and you had a few more. So I think the number was under 10 UK universities had some sort of a presence in India, biggest ones being Leeds and Warwick. And my first question to her was, why would an Indian want to talk to an Indian face? They want to talk to a white person. And she said, you know what, let's just pause here, let's go to the fair, let's see how many people speak to me and how many people speak to you. And that's when it started, where she got spoken to 20% of the people and me 80%, because people could connect with me on a one-on-one level. Parents could connect with me, relatable. A lot of parents wanted to talk in Hindi. So I had a comfort of, changing my language to their comfort, but also understanding where they are coming from, which probably...
What are their concerns? What are their...
She couldn't comprehend that. I don't blame I don't blame
even if
them.
you go to, let's say, probably if you go to Middle East, the way their local rep will understand the culture and nuances, probably we will only get 40-50% of it.
Correct. So and then she said, do this for a year, and let's see, where this takes you. And again, I mean, it's not commercially sensitive, and she offered me £11,000. So I said, "Ye to
not bad that time.
Ye to, it's pretty good. I can afford my credit card now myself."
You got your ROI within a year.
There you go. So I didn't want to say that, but you did, and I was like, okay, sounds fair. Went back home, I told my dad, I was like, I don't need you to clear my credit card bill. I can manage everything myself, And that's how it started. So I did the in-country role for 10 years. And when I was in my 10th year, and this is where, COVID hadn't really started. This is December 2019. I was in London, regular trip back to Brunel. And I met an old boss, and she said, your place is not in India. You need to come to the UK. She was working at another institution. I won't give the details of which one. And she said, I want you to come to London, and I want you to do the role from here. And I said, I don't know. I'm very happy with my life. And I was very happy with my life here. I
remember we talking before you moving out, or probably while you were moving out. So that's where we got connected.
Correct. I was very content with family, friends, life here, pretty set in the way things was. But somewhere inside me, I was feeling less challenged. I obviously, when I was the in-country rep, I did India, I did Bangladesh, I did Nepal fairly, and I did Sri Lanka. I also covered Mauritius for about a year and a half. But I didn't get the full exposure that I thought. Whenever I would go back to campus and I would look at, my head there, or even people back in the UK there, I felt they've got such an open view of things and understanding, the setup and the way it works. So she actually offered me a job. I went back to Brunel saying, look guys, I've got a job in February in 2020. And I said, I'm really keen to take this. By then I discussed it at home and everything. And Brunel was like, no, stop, we'll figure this out. We want, if that's what you want, you never asked for it before. If you would have asked for it before, we would have sorted it out for you. And a couple of years back, I actually declined a move there because I wasn't sure. And obviously then March 2020 COVID hit. So everything went
a bit slow.
It completely got paused, and I also started reflecting back, what is it that I really want? But then obviously a lot of personal situations and circumstances made me feel, right, I think I need to get out of this country and just explore what's outside. I've done, in my industry, in my world, I've done a fairly good job. I've achieved what I can achieve. I felt the maximum here in terms of the role, in terms of the reach, in terms of the money, in terms of everything.
So you were heading Indian...
I was heading South Asia, excluding Pakistan, and I was at a UK salary. So everything was okay. For me, it was like, what next? How do I grow my knowledge beyond this? I hired people in the team, so I did all of that. And that's when, I was like, okay, maybe this is the move. COVID happened. Obviously, everything went standstill. And then I got the deputy head role in May 2021. And then obviously the plan was to move by August. moved in August. Our head unfortunately decided to leave by then because she had a family and she wanted to spend time with family. And then I interviewed for the head job in September. So imagine I've left my whole world on 12th of August, landed in London. London's a familiar place, so that wasn't a problem. But still, the first event I remember I had to attend was the PI Awards, and a lot of my stuff from India hadn't arrived. So I was like, I don't have heels, I don't have a proper dress, last minute shopping. So I wasn't fully settled. And then the head job came up. Everyone in my team really encouraged me, which was quite a nice thing. Otherwise, whatever said and done, Saurav, you do feel like an outsider when you're not the white person in the room. Right?
Yeah.
But all the white people in the team were like, no, you should go for it. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll go for it. And I went for the interview, and obviously, gladly, I got it. So it's probably, I always say this, I feel like I've come the full circle back. And it's just now sometimes I think that how else can I help, or how else can I be useful to people to have a similar experience or a journey, in their time. The first student I counseled, 2011, at the combined company, which are a very small bespoke agent, but Mr. Puri was an OBE. He's no longer with us. Abhinav Anand, MBA. He had a question for me every hour on LinkedIn. He eventually came to Brunei. And he sent me a very nice handwritten note the day he arrived. I wasn't at Brunel then. Sent me a handwritten note all the way to India to say, there is no one ever I have seen who's as patient as you. You answered all my questions. And I still have that ethos. Because if you don't have, we can make or break someone's life by the advice that we give them. So, it's kudos to whether people like yourself or Sanam or through Nisao, and even when I said validation is what these kids want. In their heart, they know what they want to do. They're just looking at someone more experienced, senior, knowledgeable like you guys to tell them, this is okay. This is good for you. Do this, you'll be fine.
Done. So actually, it's a full circle. Wherein from a student to head of recruitment to still connect with students, don't shy away to go attend events and talk to students.
Yeah, I had this comment, by the way, which was like, why are you at a fair? And I was like, why not?
Why not?
This is where it all starts from. So there is perception, I guess. It's perception that's a problem.
See, as a heads leaders, if you're not on the ground, you don't know you don't understand the pulse, then you might be doing right thing, but that right thing might have outdated.
Correct.
Right. Coming back to Sanam Arora, right? Founder chairperson Nisao, right? I mean, if someone asks me, what is your favorite word, I would say Arora, and the second is faith, because that's my daughter, right? But Sanam, would love to know your story. I mean, I know lots of it, but I'm sure there are lots of things which I don't know, and not many people are aware. Things which people are aware, or probably in the media, and you've been quite famous. You've been attending panels and been chairing lots of committees and whatnot. Would like to know that part, which probably most of people are not aware.
Well, to start with, I would say you knew what you wanted to do. I was the exact opposite. I knew what I wanted to do, which was in 10th. I said to Papa, okay, I want to be a pilot.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Back in the days when I had the physique for it. And Daddy was like, yeah, of course, yeah, sure. And then I realized कि इसके लिए तो physics लेनी पड़ेगी. So those were gone bye-bye to my pilot days. This was when I was in India. So this is 2000, I want to say 7 back then. So I just finished my 10th. Somehow got through the exams. Very difficult. Not an academic person at all. And anyways, eventually we moved to the UK.
You studied LSE?
I did study at LSE.
Okay, we'll come
so
to
I
that.
did my 6th form, which is the equivalent of 11th, 12th. Then I took a gap year because actually it was something to do with my immigration status. But if I'd entered the country a couple of years, couple of hours before I did, I would have been considered a home student for university purposes.
Oh, wow.
But I was considered an international student because of
thrice.
that. So I paid thrice, and I remember. नहीं uncle से नहीं लिया मैंने. I actually earned it all by myself. Because so I took a gap year after uni. LSE, which is where I had gotten into, and I was desperate to get into LSE because by that point I just wanted LSE ही जाना है. So in fact my school principal was very angry at me because she said, why haven't you applied to Oxford or Cambridge? Do you have the grades for it? And she thought I did. Anyways, I was very scared. But I said, मुझे तो जाना ही है LSE. I don't care about Oxford and Cambridge. So that one thing I was very sure of. Luckily, I got into LSE on home fee status, and then suddenly realized that actually I'm not a home student. I'm an international student. So back then the fee used to be £3,000 for home
For home
students.
student, yeah.
And international students was some 16,000 pounds. So first thing was a mini heart attack. Second thing was pleading. Third thing was looking at immigration case studies and rules and laws to figure out कि कहीं से कुछ, you know, can I find a way out of this somewhere? Some jugaad somewhere,
loophole.
exactly.
Loophole.
Can I find a loophole or a jugaad and then get my way out? I couldn't, because you know it was clear that I would have to pay international fee. And actually, my desire though to be at the LSE, and the course I had gotten into was ridiculously awesome. It was called operational research, which only one university or two did it at a bachelor's level back then. Now it's called Morse, and you know it happens in various places. But back then, I'm not talking like 15 years ago. It was only the LSE that would do it. So I was really, really eager to get into it. I took a gap year. LSE was kind; they deferred my offer, so I got another year. And I had been working since the age of 15, part time anyway, because pounds are expensive, right? And so I had been doing all sorts of jobs. I've done waitressing. I've done you know, bartendering. I've done chudiya banana in a South Hall ki shop. You know, I used to earn £3 per hour.
Wow.
At one point. So bade papad bele hain, as we say. But so I already was working part time as a receptionist.
What was your favorite drink at bartender?
I made drink for others. Sorry, what are you all about?
What was your okay? What was you were good at? Like what was the drink which you really make well?
I could
As per
whip
you.
up a very mean martini.
Ah.
Any form of martini.
Nice.
So we know when we are going to her house.
Nice, nice.
Now we know when we gonna go to her house.
She's gonna
what to
cook up
expect.
a
What
whiz
to
up
ask
a.
for.
Yeah,
What to
fair
ask
enough.
Oh, I will absolutely do that. But you also already know where the drinks are going. So I did all of that. I was fortunate. I was already working part time at an educational institute, for where I used to work on the weekends as a receptionist. And so that educational institute was very kind, and I had been very lucky actually that because I was working on the weekends, I got to spend time with the CEO directly, as it would happen. And
So Saturday work is great.
Saturday work is great, Sunday work also. But I was fortunate that at that age of 16, 17, whatever it was, I was working directly with the C-suite of an organization. And the amount of learning, the kind of perspective that gives you is second to none. I was really, really fortunate in that regard. I used to work as hard, of course, but you know, I was very lucky. And he then offered me a full-time job.
Oh,
So
wow.
the full-time job salary was more or less the same as the actual fee I had to pay. So you guys might remember there's this film called Andaz Apna Apna.
Yeah, of course.
You know, there's Crime Must to Go,
Go,
right?
yeah.
And Crime Must to
Mark
Go
is there.
says, "Haath ko aaya, muh na laga." So that's what
Literally
my
came and it
situation
went.
was. It literally came, I paid tax on it and it went. But that's how I funded. So I worked my ass off, pardon my French, the whole of the first year, that gap year. But that allowed me to fund my first year of uni. Then when I was at first year, then throughout uni I worked. So we used to have a Starbucks in campus at LSE. By then I had mastered the trick of tuitions. So you could charge quite a nice amount. I was a good tutor.
yeah.
Could charge a pretty decent amount. So I remember there was this son of a Russian mafia person, I think. But you know, at one point I was
What
earning
did you
like
see?
150 quid an hour at that point.
No, what do
From that son.
That's all
Yeah,
that
that's
matters.
it,
That's all that matters.
But no, you know, jokes apart, worked quite hard throughout uni. So in those Starbucks, my students used to come.
And you used to give them tuition?
Yeah, in between
Wow.
studying, I would be teaching. I was a pretty good tutor, I think, at that point. I don't know if I have the knack for it now, but so I earned my way. Then first year, I took the day I finished for summer. The very next day, the same organization, they were starting off a new project. So I had a 4-month consultancy gig with them. And first year of uni, undergrad. And you know, it was a very, very good thing. So I used to get them things like vocational education accreditations in the UK, which is what I did for them. Back then we launched something called Interlesson, which was, and it was way ahead of its time, like a decade ahead of its time, but it was the UK's first ever online supplementary tuition platform.
Oh, wow.
So we automated the whole journey, but it was about 10-12 years ahead of its time. Now these things are
Common,
obviously a lot
yeah,
more common. But I did that 4-month project to sort of launch that right from idea stage through to execution stage. And then the day I finished that, the very next day I was back at uni because the summer vacations had ended. So I was very nerdy, and that's how I spent my summer. But that's how I got to earn bulk of my second year fee. So that's how I paid off my second year. Then second year, and I got an internship at Royal Bank of Scotland, which is how I got into corporate finance. So did that internship, that paid a bit of my third year fee. And then because third year was really hard, and by that time I was working a lot, pretending to study, not really studying, working. And then I used to do all this India related stuff at LSE. I used to run the Indian Society and all to organize all these events, and kabhi Rishi Kapoor aa raha hai, kabhi koi aa raha hai. You know, it was a really good moment for us in the sense of promoting India, both on campus and in London generally. But what that meant was there was no time left to study, frankly. And so by the time the third year came around, I did request my parents for some financial assistance, which obviously they were very kind to do. So that's how I paid off for uni. But it was £50,000 altogether over the 3 years. That was hard earned, every penny of it. But I also think it was like literally the most fantastic experience ever, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else. So that's, uni. And then I had in my second year, I'd done the RBS internship, which I did a good job of, and I was amongst the few people who were then given a conditional offer for third year. So you graduate, and if you get a 2-1, we call it, which is 70% plus, then you will get a job offer. It was a conditional job offer on that basis. So you'd have a grad offer ready for you. I missed that by 0.5%. And they wouldn't let go.
Thing with you. But
Yeah?
I won't tell. Mine was not 70, but that 0.5% I relate.
Yeah, it was a very little. I was like, please, can you round this up? Like mathematically, this can be rounded up.
India में मिल जाता है grace marks.
हाँ,
नहीं राउंड अप भी हो
we don't
जाता
have-
है इंडिया में तो राउंड अप भी हो जाता है
Yeah, nothing
नहीं.
worked. This is LSE.
Aggregate में नहीं हुआ.
Yeah.
Let me share. So I did for masters from Delhi University. Delhi University economics honors. You get all the marks in school and then you get through. So I studied from College of Vocational Studies, Delhi University, and I was at studious time. I wasn't very intelligent, but at the same time, used to work hard and get through. In the second year, I realized MA economics तो नहीं कर पाऊँगा. कर भी लूँगा तो I would not be good at it, right? Because
कुछ समझ ही नहीं
maths.
आता.
See, there were two things. समझ आ रहा था, interest भी था, but it was more about mugging it up and throwing it, right? And the part which was calculus and math, I wasn't good at it. So I realized that there was no point going for MA economics, and during that time I didn't make 50%. And for that year itself, if you need to sit on CAT, you need to have 50%. I reapplied, and then I got 49.78 or something.
That's even worse.
So, but I'm happy because I was very clear at that point in time that even if I would have taken a year gap and studied for IMS and for CAT, I would have not got through. Now I will get it for sure, But that was time, and so where I'm coming from, it's not about marks, and it's also not about probably if you're not good at something or probably you believe that you're not good at it. Just the mindset. It's just the probably your company and your peer circle. So all the students which we've been hearing from, these two people are probably intelligent people, and also they have worked hard. One is you have brains, the other is you need to still work hard. So please, and I'm not cutting your story because it's very interesting. But where I'm coming from, there's one story wherein coming from a affluent family, if I may say that, right? Still, their value for money. Pound was expensive, right? Not spending on probably £2 on water bottle and probably saving it for something else. When you go abroad or when you go out from your hometown, you learn the value for money. You learn you need to do yourself. Even as simple thing as washing utensils, it shift the mind, right? That okay, I need to do it myself. There's no one else, right? So coming back to you, right? So then you paid off your tuition fee. You got through corporate finance, right? From where this heart for Indian students, Nisao, welfare is coming from. What did you see or what you went through, due to which you are so passionate about students, welfare, Indianness, the right thing for students? Where this coming from?
So when I was doing my undergrad, as I said, I used to run the Indian Society at LSE. And we used to do a lot of these India-centric events where we'd get thought leaders from all over India. And what that meant was, now a lot of this happens quite commonly, and in fact we have societies all over the country where we support this. But back then it was quite rare to be getting top leaders from, a country on campus.
Even now also, no, I mean, in fact, I always fascinate that how you pull off Farhan Akhtar, Kartik Aaryan, who's of the industry, But how did it start, and then how you been pulling
How
this
it
off?
started was Agnipath had just come out. Agnipath, the Hrithik Roshan one. And you might all remember it was like the return of Rishi Kapoor in that film. As Rauf Lal. And I had a mutual friend with Rishi ji, and so I reached out to him on Facebook, as it
Really?
were. And Rishi ji said, yeah, I'd be delighted to come. So we managed to do a bit of fundraising, we got him over, and it was the most fascinating journey with what a wonderful man, top man. Of course, he's no longer with us, but that's really where we started doing. We got the idea of how you can galvanize an entire community, not just on campus, but because these were public events, you bring out the whole of the Indian diaspora to engage with India in a very meaningful way. So in this case, it was the shared love for Bollywood and Indian cinema. But that's where we started our journey of doing mega events on campus, and we had Shashi Tharoor, and we had.
This is as India lead for LSE.
This is the Indian Society.
Yeah,
of the
Indian
LSE,
Society, yeah.
So which I was back then the president of, and so we used to do these amazing things. We had India Week, which we started at LSE, as part of which we were doing all this. What that meant was that we would get a lot of. So we got BBC to be our media partner, and so what that meant was we got a lot of media coverage. This media coverage exposed me to something else, which is when random Indian students from all over the country started writing to me saying, can you help? So I said, what is this help about? And that's when I discovered that actually there was this massive shift blowing up on an immigration perspective in the country.
And this
So
was 2012.
yeah, there or thereabouts, where 2011-12, where we had something called this bogus college scandal.
Yeah.
So you'll remember it. Nearly 1,000 universities and colleges lost their Tier 4 sponsor status
License,
overnight, which was the ability to recruit international students. And they were doing shady stuff, many of them. I'm sure all of them, which is why they needed to be cleared up. So the cleanup was necessary, but it was the way in which the cleanup was implemented or the knock-on impacts on students that possibly wasn't that well thought through. So international students, including many Indians, were given 60 days to either find another college or go back
leave,
home.
yeah.
So what used to happen was these students would be thrown out of one place. Then the chances of them finding somewhere decent were very low. So they would end up in another bogus college, get thrown out, end up in another bogus college. So, and then they are now caught in this vicious cycle of bogus colleges. So when I found out about this, when so many of them used to come, we said, how is this that we as a community of Indian students are bringing billions of dollars into the British economy or other economies and forget consumer rights, but not even getting human rights, because it's just inhuman to not have recourse to public funds for support, or basically forget everything I discovered, that there was no ecosystem to support an Indian student when they were thousands of miles away from home in the UK. They may have some support in the university, but if you needed some immigration support or legal support or just some advice and guidance, it would cost you money, or there might not be anywhere to go.
In fact, we had taken at Brunel, if this is 2011-12, I think we had taken about 35 students from a university that had lost its license because some of the students were in undergrad and they couldn't have ruined their career.
Yeah.
And now I look back and think that it's so fortunate for the students as well that they have somewhere. How many of them can go to India House?
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Barely. First they'll be scared, then they'll be like, "Aur kuch galat na ho jaye," and you don't want to go back home because parents have taken a loan or have sacrificed so much.
Absolutely, and it's their entire academic journey, their money, everything's on the line. It's find another place or go back home, and so we then decided कि ये तो नहीं हो सकता, you know, there has to be somewhere an Indian student can go for support and help, and the least we can do is to help each other out, because we're all smart people. We may be young, but we're all smart people. We can help each other out. And so that's really where this concept of a home away from home for Indian students came up. And as it happens, we were very fortunate that the High Commissioner at that time, Mr. Ranjan Mathai, Indian High Commissioner to the UK, and the Deputy High Commissioner was a gentleman called Dr. Virendra Paul, who sadly we lost a few months ago to a long battle with cancer. But these two gentlemen really helped us create this supportive ecosystem through NISA for Indian students in the UK. Sushma ma'am, when she was External Affairs Minister, was incredibly supportive as well. So with the support of many community organizations, with High Commission support, and these are all students coming together from various universities, we created NISA, and there were many other things happening. So at that point, Swani, you'll remember there was some English language scandals. There was the post-study work visa got taken away.
Curtailed, curtailed or cancelled. It was at the peak of, the college system. No, also the college system was majorly fraudulent.
Correct.
But and this is when you said before also, Saurabh, everyone, all the agents and everyone in the world here say student first. They were not student first then. They were commission first.
Yeah.
So I would argue many still are.
Many still are, yes.
And it's
but
not
the students,
wrong. It's
but
not
the
wrong. Where I'm
students,
coming is just not commission.
no. But
You
the
earn
students
money.
are more
Can't be
aware.
commission only first.
Yes.
The students are more aware now. That is the difference.
Yeah.
Today's youth has, through, let's say, reading or listening about what NISA does, or seeing the media, you have a voice. So there was a funny joke. It was on I think Instagram or Facebook, where someone said, if you don't sort this out, I'll complain to NISA. Just imagine, the power of a student-led organization, and actually genuinely how much impact it can have, and it can solve. She can't do the world, but at least for a young student, at least it's a comfort that there's someone to look out for, because everything you can't tell your parents. They're sitting miles away. कैसे बताओगे?
And you don't want to add to their stress either.
No, इतनी दूर से बैठ के they'll be only worried.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been very fortunate, with universities like Brunel, many other universities. We've been able to grow and create this massive ecosystem where I'm very proud. There is no other organization like ours anywhere in the world.
Definitely.
And now, the sort of things we're supporting. So, but that's really where welfare, and also I guess there's an element of, I'm from Delhi, I'm a Sikh girl, so we think of Sarbat Da Bhala. That's really ingrained in us, and I guess that's Indian ethos, right? We look after each other, and also from time to time, if there are Bangladeshis or Nigerians or Pakistani, Nepalese students, anybody else, Chinese, who needs help, during COVID, for example, you might be aware the first wave hit us really bad in the UK. And India has shut its borders with like 4 hours notice as well because of a protectionism stance. And so what we found was international students were stranded in their rooms, thousands of them. Couldn't really go back home, alone at home. Many of them relied on their part-time income to fund themselves, and most students are employed in the hospitality sector for these sorts of part-time jobs. So hospitality sector shut down completely, and what that meant was now students don't have food to eat, groceries. The struggle was pretty real, and I'm talking the struggle in a first world country, right? When it's so scary, you can't go outside, you have all these sorts of rules, and obviously we're living in a dystopian reality at that point. But it was our volunteers who worked very closely with community organizations, with High Commission, with universities. Many universities did a fantastic job as well of really providing food and groceries and critical information to all these impacted students. And at that point, you don't discriminate, are you Indian, are you not Indian? And so, really that ethos of langar, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the
Sikh
concept
as
of
well.
Sikhism.
So yeah, that's really sort of where this comes from, this passion to serve, but also we've seen the power of unity. We've seen the power of what happens when you can unite 100,000 plus Indian student and alumni, which obviously goes into millions, community together as one voice. No other international community in the UK has the kind of voice we do, because we are united, we are one. And when we speak up, we also lead to positive impacts for the whole international higher education sector. So when we lobbied for the post-study work visa, 7 years, me and my team lobbied for it. when it came back and when we asked for it, the petitions we ran weren't introduce it only for Indians. It was introduce it for
everybody.
internationals. So a lot of our work also impacts the whole community.
Even the MAC review that you guys have defended now, I think as a sector, universities did a lot, but I think
what is MAC review?
so the Migration Advisory Committee was sort of condemning international students, immigration abuse, dependent policy change, but organizations like NISA, of course, with other sector bodies, including us as universities, I don't think if we didn't do a collective effort, I don't think the post-study work visa or the graduate route would have stayed.
I can tell you, it would have gone. And I completely 100% agree with you. I was fascinated the way the whole sector came
Everyone was
together.
united.
Everyone was united. The kind of for months on an end.
Yeah.
And it was just this mad passion that we're not going to let the graduate route get taken away. Sometimes I wish I had opened a consultancy on the side.
then you would have not got this kind of respect. Probably, I would want you to say something, but I will not.
Oh my God.
You guys got me.
Right, it's all being controversial.
Yeah, you
Go
got
on.
me. You got me. So we are coming, and you mentioned my room, and me being me, I'm doing it. Many people are asking why I started doing this podcast, lots of content, this and that. The only reason is I'm not looking for views, I'm not looking for audience, I'm looking for opportunities to talk about accommodation. Because I believe that's one thing. We've been talking about admission, talking about post-grad visa, we talk about, forex, education loans, right? Because that is still admission. Not many things post-admission, especially housing being talked about. Of course, now last 2-3 years, we have done a bit. Our peer groups have been doing a bit, and the fact is there's housing crisis as per the media. I say there's no housing crisis, there is just lack of awareness or they have been starting this a bit late, So with that vested interest, would like to know your view on accommodation, not in Brunei, but in London or in UK. And you have gone through it, you've been staying at family, but you have lots of friends from Pakistan, from international students. What's the experience been about finding accommodation? What are the points which they struggle? What they should not be doing it?
Accommodation, I think, is it's a very underlying topic. I went through it, in 2007, 2008, when I was prepping. And I was lucky that Brunel had an on-campus option which was open for international students. Today also, it's a struggle for students. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, this is quite an underplayed topic. I say this today in our pre-departures also, in our offer holder sessions also, that if you don't have a comfortable environment when you take such a big leap and a step to leave your home, your comfort, your family, your friends, to go to a country, probably for 60% of the people who've never been there before, if you don't have a comfortable roof home, you will massively feel homesick. And I think this is where I say this is underplayed. You know what we do now? A lot of our initial conversation with students, so even pre-offer, are about ancillary services like accommodation, student life. Because we've seen the admission journey is relatively simple.
It's more
It's not science.
Yeah,
it's not rocket science. Yeah. This is where students can get into a trap or a scam or incorrect information. And I know even when you were starting, Saurabh, we used to signpost so many students to, even who are not coming to Brunel. Because I said, I don't know everything. My cousin has gone through you, who went to King's College, who's gone through your website. It's because students sitting far away, even parents, हमें नहीं पता यार. How do I know Vauxhall कहाँ है? मुझे अब पता है.
And also, things keep changing.
100%.
Accommodate something which every year is different.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think what we've seen at, even at Brunel, even though we're a campus university, we've got accommodation. We do have certain set of students, who
want to stay in
want to
central
stay,
London.
not on campus. They may not go all the way central, but a lot of our Middle Eastern students have got such a strong community. They want to live near Knightsbridge. Now, so it's I think the education to students about the whole journey, not just admission, not just IELTS, not just forex, not just the agent is very important. I'm not denying that. But any of the ancillary services are, I think, far more important, because what if you do all of this and you get there and you have been scammed or fooled, then what will you do? You can't call up your mom and dad and say, come save me, and they'll get worried.
Then we'll get the call.
then you'll get
I'm
the call.
standing outside
And this is
Falana
not an
Falana
actual
house
place.
and it's not a real place.
Correct.
Please help me. It's
Which has
raining,
happened.
it's cold.
Which happens even today.
It happens all the time.
It happens now. It happens. Someone says, we had a call from a parent that someone. This is not an Indian student, but someone told the student that they can live in Canary Wharf and travel to Brunel. They can. I'm not saying
Yeah,
they
but-
can't, but it's a journey,
Yeah.
right?
You're going from Mars to Earth.
Exactly, right? But
Yeah, again, it depends. If someone probably have taken 2 days on campus, but they are working and they got a job which is paying well and
Sure.
also experience.
no,
then
this is an
staying
undergraduate
in-
student, right? Undergraduate
Okay.
student has to be
Yeah,
on campus
on
all
campus,
5 days. And when they arrived in Canary Wharf, it was a massive struggle for them to even understand anything in the system over there. Completely different world from what a campus, life would have been, or even to get the right information. I felt it was quite unfair. And we had to jump in and make an advice to the student and then, sort it out. And they got some accommodation near Wembley. They didn't want to live on campus, which I respect. I understand that. So these things still happen. And I think it's you guys have to come out in the forefront of it in some way or the other. I know you say you're not in the recruitment business and you're not, but you are a very crucial part of that student's journey. And if I be very honest with you, not saying this because I'm here, the journey will be incomplete. Can I fly without a flight ticket? So can I fly without a accommodation offer? I cannot. People don't know this. And I think it is our responsibility, your responsibility, of course, most importantly, your responsibility to educate them early on. Doing sessions at schools. I think it's so important for the undergraduate students, especially who come with money is not a problem, nothing is a problem, but knowledge nahi hai.
Awareness is
Information nahi
lacking.
hai, awareness nahi hai, because you just think sab ho jayega.
See, this is where very kind of Nisao and both of us were in. So they were getting lots of inquiries, but they are not economic expert, right? And very kind of them, and also probably we are doing something right, which probably make you feel comfortable, to push us.
We've got something called Ask Nisao, which is a very
Yeah.
regular offering
Yeah.
we do, as
Yeah.
you know.
I guess we should do that more often.
We should do that more often. So far we do that 3 or 4 times a year, so ahead of every major
Yeah,
intake.
yeah,
Basically,
yeah.
there are 3 intakes in the
Yeah,
UK.
yeah.
So ahead of everyone we'll do it, and the focus there is not on. So we don't have counselors there. We don't have agents there. The focus, we don't have universities there. The focus is not on what you're going to study. The focus is on
What
what is
to expect.
everything you're going to need around
When
that
you get
to make
there.
sure that your journey is as smooth as possible. And he often says this: start early, start early,
Yeah.
start early. So this entire thing, for example, so we have accommodation partners, our university living. HDFC Credila is one of our loans partners.
No, it's only
One of the things, And now
No,
it's
they're
only
only
Credila.
Credila.
That's right. We'll remove the HDFC. Correct. Thank you. So Credila, for example, they say this that, and it's actually really true that if you are applying for universities, don't leave the application of the loan until after you've got an
Yeah.
offer from the university, because actually how much you've got might actually determine where
Of
you
course,
apply.
of course,
right?
of course.
So this whole question of starting very early with the ancillaries, the very term ancillary is misleading.
True, fair
Because I
enough,
actually
yeah.
think these are such primary
Support,
things,
yeah, this is your...
that need to start early
yeah.
on in parallel. And now there are no issues with things like deposits and all. You can have them refundable. So it's all about getting there as early and preparing to be prepared well, not
Yeah,
to
yeah.
fail, right? So that I think is
So
critical.
now the question which been asked by me or from me is how early, and that's
Yeah.
a very fair. Good thing that at least people are starting early, but then how early? Because they also have a point. If I'm not sure which city, which country I'm going, or which university I'm going, where I look for accommodation.
Saurabh, I think you don't have to look at it from such a granular perspective. Sometimes it's just about understanding the ecosystem there. Understanding the do's and don'ts there. What I'm saying is, and I think you have two audiences in a country like India. The strong undergraduate audience,
Yeah.
which I think is growing. It's growing, I think, to the UK by the rate of about 22%.
Yeah.
And it is the outreach to schools that you can start as early as when they're in grade 10.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, today the middle class in India is super, what they call it, the super rich. They have the means, they have the finances, but sadly due to their
Awareness.
circumstances, they did not get the opportunity to go. So what they are doing is, at a very young age, they want to send their kids abroad. On Saturday, I met two fathers. Both are in a government job. But you had to see their determination to send both the girls out to study. You know, it was just phenomenal. And he said it in, you know, in Hindi, and you can edit this, कि मेरी औकात से बाहर है, पर मैं अपनी बिटिया के लिए ज़रूर करूँगा. You know, so they need to know this because they'll do their financial planning as per that.
Absolutely.
Problem exactly what Sanam said, and even I agree. If you're in Credila, will get a better rate of the student if it's last minute.
Correct.
Student will get a better rate if it's a bit in
Early
advance
stage.
because you can negotiate a bit better. So I think depending on the audience, if it's a school outreach program, I would say you have to keep
No, we've been doing it.
We've been doing it.
Period. We've been working in IC3. We have our own connects with all the counselors. So where I'm coming, how early? Not from us. I'm talking how early.
So
should go.
so an undergraduate student should start averagely 2 years in advance.
So that is the overall journey.
No, their accommodation journey, so that their parents are very well aware of what the budget hole will
But
be.
most of the undergrads get accommodation on university, no?
First year, no? First year is guaranteed. What if after that?
And even that to it, I have some numbers to add. So we also used to feel that okay, all the undergrad students get guaranteed accommodation. Unlike US, where you are mandated to stay on campus. UK, you're not
UK
mandated.
not mandated.
Right?
No.
And it was surprising and a great opportunity for us. Out of 10 undergrad students who applied to us, probably they know that they will get university halls, but not many universities confirm which
On time.
nationality, mixed gender, right? And also undergrads who are spending probably 1 crore to 1.5 crores all 3 years. They don't want to share washrooms.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, fair
Their
enough.
parents don't want that.
No, mixed gender is a big problem.
Yeah, mixed gender.
For Indian parents.
Even vegetarian food.
Yeah,
Lots
mixed
of
gender
food,
I get.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these are, you look at our staunch Hindu community, Jains, and they're very particular.
Yeah.
They don't want to
in
share.
fact,
And
lots
money
of
is not a problem for
Lots
them.
of the students end up booking studios because they don't want to share the kitchen.
Correct.
So where I'm coming from early from a student point of view.
So undergrad, I still feel 2 years from a student
This-
journey.
they
You start
should
your
start
scoping
exploring.
out. I'm not saying you know the city. I'm not saying you know the university, but you'll do a scoping out.
So we have
Approximate pricing.
We have a calculator.
I was just going to say, if you have a calculator,
Yeah.
एक थोड़ा आपको idea तो हो जाता है, parents को idea हो जाता है, आप mentally, and that's a decision making period for us as institutions. As a
Right.
prospective student, is this student going to be comfortable in a London uni, or is it
Right.
better off if they're in Preston?
Right.
As an example.
Right.
So that's also important for us from a messaging standpoint.
Valid
Because the
point.
last thing I want, and again, I think Sanam knows it, I'm very student first. I cannot take any nonsense around students. My only problem, I have another problem also. I don't want a student to come to even Brunel where that Brunel's not the right fit for them.
Because
In every
eventually
shape or
that
form.
will impact the brand.
No, it'll impact them, their journey,
Everyone.
which will eventually impact the entire ecosystem, which will impact the UK.
Right.
One bad
Right.
experience at our university shared on TikTok today or on Instagram Reels will
Yeah.
impact not just that university or not just that student, but the
Overall,
entire
yeah,
UK.
yeah.
And being a UK graduate, postgraduate, I am very passionate. I'm hardcore. I believe in the Indian system of education, but I have utmost respect for the UK system of education. There is no other country, even better than the US, that has research, employability, networking, real life skills, analytical skills like the UK has it. And I genuinely believe in this.
And the flexibility.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, flexibility was a big point I made.
to study
To do what you want to do. Yeah.
combine it how you want, and then the flexibility not just in academia but also in industry to then do whatever the hell you want. So I could have studied English lit, but I might then be a quant trader in an investment bank.
Correct.
If I can demonstrate I have those skills. In countries like the US, that's not the case. They tie you for your post-study work
To
permits, for
economics or,
example, to whatever you study. In fact, that was some of the discussion we had in the Migration Advisory Committee, was whether that there should be consideration like that. I was staunchly against it because we value the flexibility that the UK offer brings. And actually, frankly, I'm going to sound like a salesperson for the UK, but a one-year
why not?
master's.
Why not?
Why not?
We
Because
are
I
a
feel
UK
so
I
product.
proud
believe
about
this.
it.
I genuinely
Yeah.
believe in the UK.
We're so proud of the phenomenal education we provide, and the kind of, as you said, the employability, the research, the autonomy, the independence. The kind banda bana
Analytical.
deti hai UK education. It makes
Fit karegi. I mean,
human out of
yeah.
you.
Absolutely.
In many ways, we
Can't agree
don't-
more.
No,
we are the product of that.
Yeah.
a lot of people have been quoting this, but this I really genuinely mean. 2011, 12 post-study visa got taken away. How much did UK dip? Tell me. You know?
Yeah, in fact, okay,
20-21%.
I'll share my numbers. No, I share
So
my.
I was very I was playing the role of the optimistic, when this whole Mac review was going on. I said ले लो वापस, फिर भी बच्चे आएंगे
The
जिनको
brand
पढ़ना
is-
है,
yeah,
जिसको पढ़ना है, research opportunity. I can tell you not when all of this was going on, and I think we had one of our students who was with you in the conversation also, and she's got such a brilliant skill job.
She
I think
does,
Bhavna.
she does, Bhavna,
We've got
yeah.
so many students, Saurabh, who work hard, Indian students who get brilliant jobs.
They do, and actually, I might do a little plug-in for your career service because this is something I do feel in the UK. We need to improve on career services on the whole. But Brunel's career services, Bhavna, and many others who have benefited from it have repeatedly told me that Brunel's career service is top-notch. There are others, of course, in the country, but I think there's also a very interesting thing with Indian students. We have a certain expectation of placements and
Indian universities advertise
because
like
of
that.
Indian universities, because of that entire way things are done here in the UK or in other countries for that matter. But in the case of the UK, it's a lot more independent.
Correct.
On
So-
your own. Yeah.
On your own, because it's all a part of that flexibility and that adulthood, I guess. So while there is more UK universities can do for career services, this is something every Indian student should be very aware of. For example, I get students coming on a 1-year masters. Their masters will start in October. By the time they arrive, settle in, it's already December, January. Oh, guess what? The deadline for that graduate job is already gone because that was August.
Yeah.
So actually, one of the things we advise students is you need to start applying even before you've landed in
Early.
the UK.
Yes.
This is his theme,
Because
right?
this is a theme.
Everything is
Early.
early.
It's a theme.
And it's so simple. Like if you apply early, you explore more, you get more offer. Eventually, you can pick the right course, the right university.
It's all about
I
using
love
your
Indian
choice.
students, and I am an Indian student, but I can tell you a characteristic of Indian students. We love lastminute.com.
See, they
so
are
how
few-
do you? How do I'll tell you?
There are
who you-
reasons.
Agreed. In which of must
And
be fair.
I'm not saying, I'm not putting it on students, but first you
नहीं,
complete your
students
thought,
पे भी है.
I'll build on that.
We are in this society, na. Blinkit hai na. Anything is possible. So that's not ethos, you know. But I'll tell you who you can influence.
The parents.
The people around the students who are their influencers, their friends, their parents, their siblings, their school teachers, their career counselors, their agents. If you influence them, and again I'll tell you, an Indian student, very classic, and I think I find a lot of similarity with Chinese students. जब हम ठान लेते हैं ना हमें कुछ करना है तो हम करके दिखा देंगे वो ढूंढ लेगा accommodation but वो
struggle.
3x देगा price
Same.
Yeah, price
Absolutely right.
struggle
या
and the
फिर कोई
stress.
scam आ जाएगा बीच में
हमें call
Absolutely.
out.
Zulega.
So
Absolutely.
the repetitive messaging through, and who is the best speaker for a service like accommodation is the people who've done that journey last minute to explain their hurdles, and then those people who've done the journey much in advance, 6 months, 9 months, a year in advance, to explain their journey. When the student does an apple to apple ना वो होता है ना before after या versus वो करा दो एक TikTok पे TikTok तो इंडिया में नहीं sorry viral कर दो, that will work because they'll connect to that. We've seen it.
अच्छा वायरल करते नहीं होता है.
हाँ तो चलो
जितने मैंने
होता है.
कंटेंट क्रिएट किया, इसे रियलाइज किया वायरल कोई नहीं
ये
कर
हमें भी
सकता.
वायरल कर देगा आज.
अपने
कर
आप
दो
होता है.
भाई,
नहीं, the
viral
way you are
कर दो.
talking, you know, see, the best part we are talking from heart. You're no vested interest. You're not here to push Brunel. You're already,
no.
you're not doing so well.
I've done so many webinars with you, Saurabh. I think I've done more than
That's how we started,
10 or
right? That's how we,
15.
I guess that's how we
Correct.
connected.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
so-
We started, you still
and I used to
started
tell him I was like, I'm
with
never going to plug in Brunel. Brunel automatic plugin will happen.
Right.
Well,
right.
I say this as someone who does sales for a living, that the best sales happen when you're not selling anything.
Correct.
Your product is good, things will sell yourself. You need to be able to have a conversation.
Correct.
And if you're doing the right thing, no, you're so confident that even, see, I keep saying this, that I'm not doing it to sell university. I'm talking about how we can educate the
Correct.
ecosystem
Correct.
on accommodation and similarly, you know, career, because very important. You know, if it this ecosystem is to sustain and scale, outcome driven ROI is very important.
Yeah.
And everyone need to start early, and right from finances and to employment, we all need to talk about it. You know, accommodation part of it. You know, in fact, I was talking about thing which I missed. There were time, as you mentioned, you know, so now we're on UCL website, right? They recommend us that, you know, if they are not getting accommodation from, they are not on campus, you know, they recommend us, right? And my first question on meeting with them, we have 5,000 beds on campus. We don't need you. I'm like, of course you don't need. I need you, but those students need all of us. You know, because not every student gonna be on campus.
Correct.
Not every student will afford on campus.
Correct.
Right? And then if a student coming for with their spouse, with their kids, any which way they will not stay on campus.
Correct.
Right? So these are few things which make them probably after 2-3 years, you know, they got us on website. Now we are on lots of university website, and The fact is, you know, the theme of this can be start early, because again we all know those phrases, you know, jaldi utho, jaldi jago. But coming on that Indian ethos or students, it's also not Indian students. The overall ecosystem wherein, or the environment wherein the university's grades comes late. Lots of universities don't talk about accommodation because they
Correct.
like let him or her pay the deposits. Right? Lots of education partners don't talk about accommodation. Again, not they don't want to, but they're like
Correct.
this that extra headache.
Yeah.
If students don't get a visa, then what? But back to it. You know, I don't want to create only accommodation theme. You know, and probably this is a last, you know, segment of this interesting interaction, which we can probably interact for another 4 hours. You know, very passionately. You know, one thing, another thing which is common among us. You know, so guys, all of us, there's no AC happening. I don't know why, and I don't think even we are thinking about, you know, being comfortable, because we are so passionate about, you know, talking the right thing. So last few things, you know, Shivani, if an Indian student wants to go abroad, you already mentioned why UK, you know, so you have covered because that is ingrained and probably we believe in it. What are those things which a student should avoid, or what is their to-do list? You know, if they are planning to study in UK, probably in London, probably in Brunel, you can cover whatever your advice.
I'll
is,
cover
you
one
suggest.
thing I think which is very important, and I think it's in the light of everything that's happened in the last 1 year, and I think it pains people like, you know, definitely you, but Sanam and me in London, and you know, when you have to defend international students, it pains me. And I think the theme for me is don't fall into someone's trap where they're promising you a quick win. There are no shortcuts.
We all are success of 15 years, 10 years.
Minimum, right? So if a third party, and I will use the word agent, whoever your agent is, tells you that अरे तुम पहुंच जाओगे, फिर तुम्हें जल्दी से पार्ट टाइम जॉब मिल जाएगी, तुम अपनी फीस भी दे दोगे, फिर तुम्हें स्किल वर्कर वीज़ा भी मिल जाएगा. This is a lie, guys. I'm being very outright about it. It's a lie.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a Shah Rukh Khan movie. Everything is not hunky dory. There are struggles. Sanam struggled. I struggled. I had my own struggles. So it's not easy. But what you have, and you're very fortunate, I think the youth of today, the future students, is they have access to us. They have access to organizations like NISAO. They have access to universities like us in so many different platforms. Do you know, in the last 7 months, I have spoken to more than 30 offer holders on LinkedIn. I had no idea how they got my details. They've sent me a message, which are such simple questions. But what I could understand was there's someone telling them something, you know, giving them a fake story or a promise, or showing them things which are larger than life. You know, you will get successful.
For sure.
No matter where you are from, no matter who you are, the only 3 things always to remember is you have to work hard. You have to be resilient, because taking the step to move overseas is the biggest change you'll do in your life. And third, and the most important, is please have fun. You know, we're not in this race. And I know I always think of 3 Idiots when I say this, but life is not a race. You know, enjoy the journey. I mean, I'm being honest and I'm being very candid. When I became an in-country officer, and even when I did that for 5 years, I did not, in my wildest of dreams, ever in my life, thought I could become the head of international. Ever. I mean, मतलब ये तो सोचा ही नहीं मैंने. यहाँ तक मेरी सोच ही नहीं गई. And I am an ambitious person. I'm a very motivated person, you know, but सोच ही नहीं गई. You know, someone else had to inculcate that thought in me by showing me that path. I never even had that aspiration or expectation that I want to go to the UK. Let alone, I kid you not, when I went for my interview for the head job, I went hungover. Because I had my cousin's birthday. How can I not attend my cousin's birthday party? So the first thing I did when I got in was, and obviously it was people who know me, right? So like, if I say any gibberish, I'm hungover, guys. But the real time is, I didn't think of it.
You know, your honesty.
Yeah.
And even if you're hungover, you acknowledge it. And I guess this is another thing, you know, if you go to UK or abroad, if you're honest and you are not trying to become that I know it all, it generally works.
Yeah. So don't get into, you know, don't do your own homework.
Don't be serious, right?
Yeah,
work hard, resilient, and have fun.
Have fun,
right?
And don't get into scams.
Sanam, last bit. You know, what are your 3 advices, suggestions, not to do list for students, you know, who are looking to come to UK or want to go abroad?
I mean, I echo everything Shivani said. Certainly the bit about
Hungover
agents.
part also?
Hungover part also. I will frame it as be honest. And diplomatic while you're at it. No, honestly, I do agree with everything she said. I also think, ultimately you've got to think about why am I going abroad? It's a fairly high risk, high return. I mean, I would say actually risk is pretty low as someone from the investment.
It's the best investment.
I think it's a great investment,
Correct.
but it's what you do with it that's entirely up to you. So I think a lot of the times we can fall in the trap of, here is the course, here's what I'm going to study, and here's what I might do off the back of it. We're not very clear on why are we going down this particular path. So my number one advice is to work backwards from what kind of a life do you want to build for yourself. Life is not your career either. A career is a huge part of it, but I genuinely want you to think about what is it ultimately that I want to do. Or you may not know precisely what job you want to do. You may have an idea of, here's the kind of stuff I enjoy, here's the kind of stuff I don't enjoy. Part of it will come from gaining work experience. So getting work experience at an early stage, even if it's internships, paid, unpaid, whatever, shadowing, etc., is very important to get a sense of, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, and therefore this is the kind of work I'd like to do. And then working backwards from the sort of employment outcomes or employability outcomes, is really important. So that's when you then figure out, okay, here's the kind of life I want to build, here's the kind of work I'd need to do, here's the kind of course I should study in order to get me on the best path for that. So that's one thing. The second thing I genuinely feel is you've got to be able to sell yourself, which as
So
wrong
true.
as it sounds, we're in a very commercial world. And I, as a recruiter, whether it's for NISA or whether it's for my investment management world, I'm recruiting all the time. I throw in the bin CVs that have 90% first class honors. I'm like, why the hell is this CV on my table? And I'll get really irritated because what I find is 90% of the time, those 90%ers aren't able to hold a conversation. So those soft skills, the opportunities to network, the opportunities to really show me a story, a CV that doesn't tell me a story, I'm not interested in. Because by the time you're getting to my table and you're sitting in front of me for an interview, I don't care what your grades are, or that you went to Oxford or Cambridge and that you were a astrophysicist, PhD or whatever. I want to know, will I enjoy working with this person?
True.
At that point, by the time you've reached that final stage. So make yourself into that person who someone wants to work with. And that is a pretty loaded thing to say, but you've got to be fun, and to your point, and you've got to have a certain sense of what do I stand for, and what am I, what am I here to really, really do. I think those two things, if other than just not taking yourself too seriously and not taking everything with a pinch of salt, is really important.
Great. I guess that's a wrap. And I had fun. Probably
did I.
we'll hangover, or probably we'll try to get hungover after this, which I'm sure we don't, because we are pushing around so much to do. We are running out. You have a meeting back in Delhi, coming from Gurgaon. You're not off.
I'm on
You're
holiday. This
off
was
your
my annual
holiday.
leave,
So thank you so
I
much
have
for
given
coming.
you.
Thank you so much for coming. And thank you to my team. First of all, thank you so much, because I believe AC is not working. It's a bit, it's not that pleasant. But we still probably recorded for 2 hours, and that too, there's no breaks. There's not, So just to wrap up, work hard, be resilient, have fun, understand why, sell yourself. And I love, because in India, selling is looked down, whereas we all are selling all the time. And if I add further, even the theme start early, not only for accommodation, but for admission, financing, everything. Career, very, very important. So these were the few things which I probably can't agree more and emphasize even further. And both of your stories been very inspiring. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.